for the King who is victorious. Yahuwah is the awesome one. There is none like you. With you're our champion. With you we can, we always win. You're our champion. Oh, Yahuwah is the awesome one. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Oh, we lift our hands. We lift our voice. We celebrate our champion. We sing hello, hello, Yahuwah, for the King who is victorious. You is the awesome one. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can. We always win. Champion. Oh, you are the awesome one. There is none like you. With you we win. You're our champion. With you we can lose. We always win. You're our champion. Congregation located in South Carolina. I pray that your Yom is going great thus far, and the Abba has been delighted. It is a pleasure to be in your presence and to have you with us on this great Yom. We're going to begin with the Baruch of the Torah, and I want you to repeat with me as we go forward. Baruch Yahuwah,
Baruch Yahuwah,
the Baruch one.
the Baruch one.
Baruch is Yahuwah,
Baruch is Yahuwah,
the Baruch one.
the Baruch one.
For all eternity.
For all eternity.
Baruch atah,
Baruch
Yahuwah,
Yahuwah,
our supreme one.
our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the
Who
universe.
selected us from all the peoples.
Who selected us from all the people.
And gave us his Torah.
And gave us his Torah.
Baruch atah,
Baruch atah,
Yahuwah,
Yahuwah,
giver of the Torah.
giver of the Torah.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Baruch atah,
Baruch atah,
Yahuwah,
Yahuwah,
our supreme one.
our supreme one.
King of the universe.
King of the
Of truth.
who gave us the Torah of truth.
And then planted.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so.
Now we'll have the reading of the 10 Commandments done by Mattathias. And it is so.
And it is so.
Devarim 5:6 through 22. Aleph. I am Yahuwah, your power which brought you out of the land of Israel from the bait of slavery. Bait, you shall mind above, for that is in the earth beneath, and show mercy unto thousands of them that have me and keep my commandments. Name and Israel. Dalet, guard the Sabbath day to set it apart, as Yahuwah your power has commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah your power. In it you shall not do any work, you, your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant, nor your maid such you. And remember that you were a servant in the land of Israel, and that Yahuwah your power brought you out of there through a mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore Yahuwah your power commanded you to keep the Sabbath day. Hey, esteem your Abiyim as Yahuwah your power has commanded you. Your days may neither shall you steal. That neither shall you bear false witness against your neighbor. You, neither shall you desire your neighbor's Isha, neither shall you covet your neighbor's bed, his field, or his manservant, or his maidservant, his ox, or his ass, darkness with a great voice. And he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tables of stone and delivered them unto me. And it is so.
And it is so. Chapter 6 of the Deuteronomy, which is Deuteronomy, verses the land where you are going to enter and possess it, that you might fear Yahuwah your power to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command you, you and your son and your grandson, all the yamim days of your life, and that your yamim may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Yasharal, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily as Yahuwah power of your Abbas has promised you in the land that flows with milk and honey. Shema Yasharal. Hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah our supreme one. Yahuwah is Akkad. And you, when you sit in your bed, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. To fall, to what?
To bind to the mind.
To bind to the mind. That means it is important that you give the Torah of Abba Yahuwah access to your mind. If you don't give it access to your mind, you will never be able to properly process it to truly understand what the Abba is saying unto us, his congregation. And it is so.
And it is so.
Excuse me. And you shall bind them for a sign, verse 8 again, the land which he swore to your Abbas, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Yaakov, to give you great cities which you did not build, houses full of all great things which you fill not. And wells there, lest you forget Yahuwah, which brought you forth out of the land of Mitzrayim from the bed of slavery. You shall fear Yahuwah your power and serve him, and shall swear by his name. You shall not go after the power of the people which are round about you. For Yahuwah your power is a jealous power among you, lest the anger of Yahuwah your power be kindled against you, and he destroy you from off the face of the earth, or off the face of the earth. You shall not tempt Yahuwah your power as you tempted him in Massah. You shall diligently keep. Somebody say diligently keep.
Diligently keep.
The commandments of Yahuwah your power and his testimonies and his statutes which he has commanded you. And you shall do that which is right in the sight of Yahuwah, that it may be well with you, and that you may go in and possess the great land which Yahuwah swore to your fathers. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. Let's have another song, please. Al Baruch Yahuwah, Al Baruch Yahuwah, with a heart of thanksgiving. Al Baruch Yahuwah, Al Baruch Yahuwah, Al Baruch Yahuwah, with the heart of thanksgiving. Al Baruch Yahuwah, Al Baruch Yahuwah, Al Baruch Yahuwah, with the heart of thanksgiving. Al Baruch Yahuwah, Al Baruch Yahuwah, Al Baruch Yahuwah. With my hands lifted up, and my mouth filled with praise, with a heart of thanksgiving. Al Baruch Yahuwah, with my hands lifted up, and my mouth filled with praise, with a heart of thanksgiving. Al Baruch Yahuwah, Al Baruch Yahuwah, Al Baruch Yahuwah, with a heart of thanksgiving. Al Baruch Yahuwah. Al Baruch. Al Baruch Yahuwah. Al Baruch Yahuwah. With a heart of thanksgiving. Al Baruch Yahuwah. When my hands lifted up, and my mouth filled with praise, with a heart of thanksgiving, Al Baruch Yahuwah. When my hands lifted up, and my mouth filled with praise, Yahuwah. Al Baruch Yahuwah. With a heart of thanksgiving, Al Baruch Yahuwah. Al Baruch Yahuwah. Al Baruch Yahuwah. With a heart of thanksgiving, Al Baruch Yahuwah. When my hands lifted up, and my mouth filled with praise, with a heart of thanksgiving, Al Baruch Yahuwah. When my hands lifted up, and my mouth filled with praise, with a heart of thanksgiving, Al Baruch Yahuwah. And my mouth filled with praise, with a heart of thanksgiving, Al Baruch Yahuwah. Al Baruch Yahuwah. Al Baruch Yahuwah. With a heart of thanksgiving, Al Baruch Yahuwah. Al Baruch Yahuwah. Al Baruch Yahuwah. With a heart of thanksgiving, Al Baruch Yahuwah. When my hands lifted up, and my mouth filled with praise, with a heart of thanksgiving, Al Baruch Yahuwah. Heart of thanksgiving, Al Baruch Yahuwah. Al Baruch Yahuwah. Al Baruch Yahuwah. With a heart of thanksgiving, Al Baruch Yahuwah. Al Baruch Yahuwah. Al Baruch Yahuwah. With a heart of thanksgiving, Al Baruch Yahuwah. Al Baruch Yahuwah. With a heart of thanksgiving, Al Baruch Yahuwah. Worthy is our King, worthy is our King. We rest in Him. We rely on Him. We trust in Him because He is our power and He is the authority and the ruler of our lives through His Son, Yahush, our Hamashiach. And it is so.
And it is so.
At this time, let us turn our attention to Yahush, the son of Nun, chapter 1. Also, Joshua is his English name. And we're going to read verse 6, 7, and we're going to confess verse 8 It is a very important part of our walk in our life, and that is to constantly encourage ourselves to take hold of the instructions of the Abba. To many that don't understand, it is a walk of salvation. This is our salvation, but it is also our culture. That we would be reminded through the voice of Abba Yahuwah to Yahush, the son of Nun, on his responsibility and his obligations to the children of Yahshua. Now, I'm saying this, we confess this, and we read it to encourage us. I'm telling you to go out there and try to distribute something that the Abba has not given you to do. But what we did, the strength that was given unto him to be able to do the things that he needed to do. Because we are responsible for carrying the instructions of the Abba. All right, verse 6 says, be strong and of a good people shall you divide for an inheritance the land, which I swore to their Abbas to give them. Only be you strong and very courageous, that you may observe to do according to all the Torah, which Moshe my servant commanded you. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that you may prosper wherever you go. It's instructions for us to maintain and hold fast to the instructions of the Abba through his instructions, which is the Torah. That is his instructions unto us, his people. Verse 8 tells us about the scroll, but we're going to make it personal. That's what I've done. I've tailored it to make it personal. I've not taken anything out of it. I've just made it personal. So when I say read with me, I want you to understand there's nothing that has been taken out, just made personal. Are y'all following me?
Okay.
All right. Verse 8, repeat with me. This scroll of the Torah,
This scroll of the Torah
shall not depart out of my mouth,
shall not depart out of my mouth,
but I shall meditate therein,
but I shall meditate therein,
Yom and Layla,
Yom and Layla,
which is night and day, that I may observe to do,
that I may observe to do,
according to all that is written in it.
according to all that is written in it.
But then I shall neighbor, and you shall act wisely.
And you shall act wisely.
Now look at your other neighbor, you shall act wisely, and you shall act wisely. Now take your hand and place it over your heart and say, Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
I shall act wisely.
I shall act wisely.
I am determined,
I am determined
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
Come on, I am determined,
I am determined
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
One more time, I am determined,
I am determined
to act wisely.
to act wisely.
And it is so.
And
it is so. I am determined to act wisely. Do you not know when you make that a decree or a confession of your life, you will be on a quest to act wisely, no matter what you are challenged with, no matter what you are faced with. You will make a point in your life to act wisely. And it is so.
And it is so.
All right. Let us. He's sweet, I know. He's sweet, I know. The dark clouds may rise and the strong winds may blow, but I'll tell the world wherever I go that I have a Savior, and He's sweet, I know. He's sweet, I know. He's sweet, I know. The dark clouds may rise and the strong winds may blow, but I'll tell the world wherever I go that I have a Savior, and He's sweet, I know. He's sweet, I know. He's sweet, I know. Dark clouds may rise and the strong winds may blow, but I'll tell the world wherever I go that I have a Savior, and He's sweet, I know. Yahuwah, sweet, I know. Yahuwah, sweet, I know. The dark clouds may rise and the strong winds may blow. But I'll tell the world wherever I go that I have a Savior, and Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. The dark clouds may rise, and the strong winds may blow. But I'll tell the world wherever I go that I have a Savior, and Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. The dark clouds may rise, and the strong winds may blow. But I'll tell the world wherever I go that I have a Savior, and Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. The dark clouds may rise, and the strong winds may blow. But I'll tell the world wherever I go that I have a Savior, and Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. The dark clouds may rise, and the strong winds may blow. But I'll tell the world wherever I go that I have a Savior, and Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. The dark clouds may rise, and the strong winds may blow. But I'll tell the world wherever I go that I have a Savior, and Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. The dark clouds may rise, and the strong winds may blow. But I'll tell the world wherever I go that I have a Savior, and Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. The dark clouds may rise, and the strong winds may blow. But I'll tell the world wherever I go that I have a Savior, and Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. The dark clouds may rise, and the strong winds may blow. But I'll tell the world wherever I go that I have a Savior, and Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. The dark clouds may rise, and the strong winds may blow. But I'll tell the world wherever I go that I have a Savior, and Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. Yahuwah sweet I know. The dark clouds may rise, and the strong winds may blow. But I'll tell the world wherever I go that I have a Savior, and Yahuwah sweet I know. We do adore him. We do ahab him, which means love. We love him with all of our hearts, all of our strength, and all of our total being, and with our resources. We do ahab him with everything in us. At this time, I want you to turn your attention. This is still not our time. We still are going through our times of affirmation and our times of reading the writings. It's the, as I like to say, the appetizer before the meal, so that you will be hungry, hungry, hungry for that what will be brought forth in our class on to young. But I want you to turn your attention to Yehukanan, which is John, 1 John chapter 5. And we're going to read that whole chapter. Why we're going to read that whole chapter? It's important that you understand the importance as walking this walk as Hebrews in our culture, not a religion, but our way of life, that we understand that the Mashiach is very important to our way of life. Without him, we do not have access to Abba Yahuwah. He is the access to binding and to bringing restoration to the relationship that was breached and broken through our ancestors because of their disobedience. It is just like a covenant or a treaty. That treaty in the beginning, which was created through our ancestors, and I'm just saying, use it as an analogy, a treaty that's created, even though it may have been created in a time that you may not have been around, that treaty still is valid as long as the conditions are upheld. That's what covenant is. And because it's important for us to understand that the covenant is based upon conditions, and Yahush is the one that brings the clarity and the insight to the conditions that are to be regarded in the first covenant. Yeah. And without him, you don't understand what your part is and what part of the covenant belongs to you now in this disposition or this dispensation. And so it's very important that we understand that we not become weary in listening and trying to find answers. Something I've learned is that as a people, we're very impatient. We don't want to wait for anything. People think, now they got stuff you can put in the oven and bake a cake in a microwave. That's a cake I don't want, because a true cake takes time, and it takes time preparing it, and it takes time to cook it. And so with all the added ingredients and all that stuff, you can put it in a microwave and you get a cake and it don't rise and be this big. That's not a real cake. That's just something you put it in there, just getting a little bit of fluffiness in it, and you're eating it. That's not a real cake. Mm-hmm. But we will substitute those things just to satisfy our palate because we're thinking, I just want something sweet. But if you really want a cake, then it's going to take a moment. And it's going to take time to get the ingredients together and then for it to bake and for it to bake properly. If you just want something, then you just take anything. And so it's important. I don't care what anybody says, 1 + 1 is going to always equal 2. Are y'all hearing me? Yes. It's going to always equal 2. You got one piece of gum plus another piece equals 2. You got two, you got a male and a female, you got a bull and you got a calf, it still equals 1. It equals 2. And so we must not ever allow the lines to be distorted or the truth to ever be distorted, because when we do, we'll find ourselves on the outside trying to look in. Right. And so it's important that we understand that Yahush has a very important part in our lives. And without him, we will fail to understand the importance and the depth of the relationship that we are to build in him so that we can have a valuable, healthy relationship with the Mashiach, with the Abba. Without that relationship, guess what? We are out there on our own. Sure. So it's important that we dare not reject him. And so this is Yehukanan, back in that time, John, and he's speaking to the believers and he's telling them to believe. Let me tell you something. It's a lot of things that's going on out there, but we've got to make a choice. We're going to talk about some things that don't stick and try to deal with the coronavirus and all that, because we got enough of people that's talking about it and constantly reminding us every day that we're in this situation. But I'm here to remind you and let you know that don't let this opportunity escape you. The Abba has each one of us where he would have us, and you need to listen attentively to what he is trying to convey to you. Many of us, he's trying to convey truth because this is the opportunity and the door is open. Many of us, he is reinforcing his truth. You know where you are, and it may never come again to where he is conveying his truth to you. So we move our lives so that we can build a relationship with him, and watch it so that he can show us and give us understanding to this walk. And we're going to read that in just a moment. Chapter 5, verse 1, all the way to verse 21. And it says, everyone who believes that Yahush is the Mashiach has been born of Yahuwah. And everyone who loves the one bringing forth also loves the one having been born of him. By this we know that we love the children of Yahuwah, when we love Yahuwah and guard his commands. For this is the love for Yahuwah, that we guard his commands, and his commands are not something that has overcome the world. Our belief in who? The Mashiach. With everything that's going on now, you better have some type of belief, and your belief better be right. Better be invested in the right one, because if it is not, then guess what? The Ruach is the truth. And because there are three who bear witness, because this is the witness of Yahuwah, which he has witnessed concerning his son. The one who believes in the Son of Yahuwah has the witness in himself, the one who does son. Three witnesses has he given unto us, that we will be believers in his son. Sometimes it is easier for us, so we think that is to believe in something difficult than something that is easy and right here before us.
Right.
Verse 11 says, and this is the witness that Yahuwah has given us eternal life. And this life is in his who?
Son.
In his who?
Son.
It is in his son. So that means if you avoid one, but truly having Yahush, our Mashiach, the son of Yahuwah in your life, then you don't have eternal life. He who believes in the name of the Son of Yahuwah, so that you know that you possess everlasting life. And so that you believe in the name of the Son of Yahuwah, excuse me. And this is the boldness that we have in him, that if we ask whatever according to his desire, he hears us. It is important that this scripture or this chapter, along with the other writings, be reinforced in our lives.
Right.
It is amazing that reinforced in our lives, so that we are able to stand, and having done all to stand, stand therefore with our loins girt about with truth. That means the seat of your strength. If you have no truth where your strength is, guess what is going to fail you after a while? There are a lot of things I said before that's going on, but there are things that we must grab a hold on, and there are things that we need to confront in our, whatever we ask, we know that we have the petitions that we have asked of him. If anyone sees his brother sinning a sin, not to death, but shall ask, and he shall give him life for those not sinning to death. There is a sin to death. I do not say that he should pray about that. All unrighteousness is sin, and there is a sin not to death. We know that everyone having been born of Yahuwah does not sin. But the one having been begotten of Yahuwah guards himself, and the wicked one does not touch him. We know that we are of Yahuwah, and all the world lies in the wicked one. And we know that the Son of Yahuwah has come and has given us an understanding. Once again, verse 21, verse 19, verse 20. And we know that the Son of Yahuwah has come and has given us an understanding. So without the Abba, you will not understand. Without the Abba's son, Yahush, you will not have an understanding, because it is he who gives us an understanding. Why? So that we might know the true one. This is why it's important that we have Yahush, because he is going to describe for us and show us the true one. Listen to what it says. And we are in the true one, in his son, Yahushua. If you're not in him, then you're not in the true one. This is the true Yahuwah and everlasting life. Little children, keep yourselves from idols. And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. It's very important that we understand these things. Why? Once again, as I said before, this is the appetizer. If you've ever gone to a lecture, or you've ever gone to a any type of the shows or any function where they have different things going on, and they're going to be presenting different types of material, or even if it's gifts or items that they're going to be giving away. Sometimes you can sit in those functions for hours, 2 hours, an hour, maybe 3 hours, and they take a break and they do whatever. But we got to learn to be patient and listen to what the Abba is taking us through. Everything that is given is to instruct and to encourage you to maintain of truth. Mm-hmm. We're in a time that we're being tested in the class. This is once again to encourage you and to stir your ruach to want to maintain. We're in a time now, as we were talking earlier, excuse me, with the congregation. I was talking earlier with the congregation. This is a time we've never seen before. a time where you have to be quarantined into your place of abode. You can only go to the store and then back to your abode. When you go to the store, the shelves are not as full as they would normally be. So we're in a time that really many people don't understand. We know what time we're in. These are trying times. And in trying times, you need to have some stability and you need to anchor yourself in truth. Not a truth, but the truth.
Right.
Just because you drive a car doesn't mean that car is going to get you to your destination. And when you get the car that you are supposed to drive, then you know it's going to get you to your destination. Why? Because it's already been prepped to get you to where you need to go. So it's important that we understand this. Are y'all following me?
Yeah.
Very important that we understand. All right. Read our affirmation. And from our affirmation, we're going to go into our declaration. And then we're going to have our final song. Tell you what, our purpose to learn, our purpose to develop. Many times we get to a point in our lives, and if we're not careful, the enemy will come in and make us believe we've learned all we need to learn. We've gotten all we need to get. We don't need anything else. So we get to a point where we cap off, where we're willing to learn and where we need to stop off. Everything else, you can learn everything in this writing, but about the real relationship that we're supposed to have in him through his son, Yahushua HaMashiach. It is important that we take the time. You got to stay at home. You can only go to the store, purchase a few items, and then get back. And then once you get back, you can go nowhere else but stay at home. And to many, that can become very challenging. Why? Because now you're thrust into an environment that's foreign. Because at a time, you know, your children will be at school, your ish will be at work, or your ish will be, and many of you are trying to figure out, what do we do? Learn. Seek the Abba to know what his will is. Seek him to know what it is that you are supposed to be doing so that you can call Black people. What is normal? We have no normal life. There's no such thing as normal for us. We've always been in a position where we're fighting to maintain, where we're trying to build. So we're not looking to go back to that, but we're looking to move forward. Understanding there are going to be trials and understanding there are going to still be struggles. But we're not letting go and we're not giving up because we understand this is a mandate over our lives. Are y'all following me?
Right.
Very important for us to understand that. And when we come to understand whenever the Abba is going to speak, he's going to speak by the mouth of 2 or 3, not by the mouth of 1. Well, you got these people saying, what last I checked, he said he would not reveal anything except he revealed it through his prophets. And it's not by a feeling, but it's by a knowing. And that is being able to show it forth in the writings.
Okay.
So it's important that we understand if he's not saying part of our code and predict. Let the Abba speak. He knows when to say and what to say. And everybody that's speaking and saying the Abba said is not who the Abba has chosen. So it's important that we be very careful with that. Are y'all following me? But this is a part of our affirmation. Our affirmation begins with us confessing. You can listen and you can participate, or you can listen this time and participate next time. But as a congregation, we're going to recite it. And so I'm going to let you that are listening hear what we recite. And it is so.
And it is so.
All right. Repeat with me. I purpose to develop my ruach.
I purpose to develop my ruach.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I purpose to walk in the light of Torah.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I am born again.
I am born again.
I am Ibram.
I am Ibram.
I have the life and nature
I have the life and nature
of Yahuwah in my ruach.
of Yahuwah in my ruach.
That life is
That life is
the Torah of Yasharal.
the Torah of Yahshua.
I purpose to walk
I purpose to walk
in the Torah of life.
in the Torah of life.
Yahuwah's Torah,
Yahuwah's Torah,
Yahuwah's love
Yahuwah's love
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's power
Yahuwah's power
is in me.
is in me.
Yahuwah's wisdom
Yahuwah's wisdom
is in me.
is in me.
He is teaching me.
He is teaching me.
He is leading me.
He is leading.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
I am a child of Yahuwah.
The Ruach,
The Ruach,
HaKodesh of Yahuwah,
HaKodesh of Yahuwah,
in me is leading me.
in me is leading.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll follow her leading.
I'll walk in
I'll walk in
the Torah,
the Torah,
Yahush,
Yahush,
our Mashiach.
our Mashiach.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. All right. Our declaration. And then our soul. And it is so. Repeat with me. Abba Yahuwah,
Abba Yahuwah,
in the name of Yahush,
in the name of Yahush,
our Mashiach,
our Mashiach,
we subdue ignorance
we subdue ignorance
with Torah knowledge.
with Torah knowledge.
And through this knowledge
And through this knowledge
of Torah truth,
of Torah truth,
we claim healing,
we claim healing,
shalom,
shalom,
deliverance,
deliverance,
and salvation.
and salvation.
We decree
We decree
Torah truth
Torah truth
in the lives
in the lives
of your people,
of your people,
our people,
our people,
Yasharal.
Yasharal.
We unite,
We unite,
not to fight,
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 not to fight
each other,
each other,
but the enemy
but the enemy
of our belief.
of our belief.
And it is so.
And it is so.
You ought to let that burn in your heart. You are not my enemy. I'm not your enemy. But we are to unite, not to fight each other, but the enemy of our belief. And it is so.
And it is so.
At this time, we're going to have our last song, and then we're going to do our confession. And it is so.
And it is so.
Let everything that has breath praise Yahuwah. Let everything that has breath praise Yahuwah. Let everything that has breath praise Yahweh. Let everything that has breath, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yahuwah. Let us bow before our King as we recite this together, coming from Tehillim 19 and 14. Let us bow before him. Repeat with me. May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
O Yahuwah,
my rock
my rock
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
May the utterance of my mouth
May the utterance of my mouth
and the deliberation of my heart
and the deliberation of my heart
be desirable before you,
be desirable before you.
O Yahuwah,
O Yahuwah,
my rock
my rock
and my redeemer.
and my redeemer.
And it is so.
And it is so.
And it is so. And it is so. You may be seated in his presence. Yes, we praise him for all that he's doing, all that he's done, all that he's yet going to do. Once again, I pray that your Yom has been going great thus far. I pray that the Abba has Baruchu. We appreciate him for this time to celebrate with you. Like myself, we are taking bond and to build stronger relationships. If this is not what you're doing, I encourage you to do so, especially in the time that we're living in. And so I truly do appreciate the Abba. So on to the thing or today, what we're going to be talking about, as we've been talking about in this season, is sustainability. Sustainability through land ownership, farmland, and the consequences of disobedience. It is the consequences of our disobedience which has us where we are. Some will say, "Oh, we're the cause of the coronavirus." I won't say that we are the cause, but you can understand we're in this place because of our disobedience. And because we have failed to acknowledge the Abba and do all that he's called us to do, we find ourselves in a position of judgment. Now, many would disagree and say, well, we had nothing to do with it, but I beg to differ. We've been disobedient and we continue to be disobedient. We continue to negate, we continue to forget, we continue to just blatantly be disobedient and tell the other, I will not do what you have called me to do. And we show it through our actions. We show it every day through turn our attention to Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 16. And we're going to use this as a platform. And I'm going to show you as we read through it. And we're going to just kind of read some things and we're going to talk. Many of you, I won't say are scared because I wouldn't dare put fear or play scare tactics with anybody. But I will say this, many of us have concerns and we're wondering, what do we do next? Once this is all cleared up, what do we do? Once they say the coronavirus is gone and everything goes back to normal, first, no such thing as it going back to normal for us. And if you would believe that the life you lived before now is normal, no, I would challenge you on that. Because as a people, nothing was normal. We're in a land of our enemies. And it's not normal when you've been denied and you've been deprived of the things you know that you should have. That's not normal. So for us to plan to move forward into, and not just say, well, we're going to go on with our lives. If they do give us a stimulus packet, then we're going to buy this and we're going to buy that. First thing that I would encourage you to do is purchase farmland. Didn't really know about farmland. Some of us have the experience and some of us have tiny bits, but we know our ancestors were herdsmen and farmers. So it's somewhere there. You just got to pull it up out of you. And so we're going to look at, once again, we're going to look at Jeremiah, which is Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 16. And from there, we're going to build a platform that shows us it is our responsibility and our obligation to find out what it is, what is normal for us versus abnormal. Is it normal for us to live in a city and live like city folk? Or is it abnormal? Is it normal for us to desire to live in a place of the country and desire to have a garden and desire or to have animals to domesticate and to groom and to grow and to raise? Is that normal? And so we're going to find out through the writings if this is our normal way of life. And then we can begin to understand what our future holds when we start moving in the direction that we're supposed to move in, and not in a fictitious or the ways. Now you have to understand that ways is plural. And look intently and make inquiry for the ancient paths. Watch this. Where the great way is, and walk in it, then you will find rest for your souls. But check out the latter part. But they said, we will not walk in it. That is not what we in this generation are proclaiming. We're saying, Abba Yahuwah, we want to walk in it. Show me the way. I'm looking intently. I'm looking left, right, up, down. I'm looking because I want to find that way. The only way to truly understand what to look for is through Yahush. Now we read in the beginning, Yahush, Yehukanan chapter 5, verses 1 through 21, and that's in John, 1 John chapter 5. To look intently for it, you got to be in him, and he has to be in you. If not, when you go on your search, you will not know what to search for or what to look for. And you will begin to think that the life you once lived was a normal life, which is not and was not and will never be normal. It is important we understand. 6 years, you're still new. We're still new to it. But there is also a path that leads us into our cultural way of life. I would go to say many people would refute it, and that's okay. But I don't believe in my heart of hearts that the city life was ever meant for us as a people. Skyscrapers and all this stuff that destroys the foundation of land. Where now you have to go way, way in the deep south and in other places to try to find farmland. Why? Because there is really no land. Why? Because the city has taken it out. False caretakers. Caretakers that only think of themselves. And these caretakers have taken over and destroyed the land that the Abba has bereft. So you must understand, it is important that we understand land ownership as we prepare to go back, not into the normal way. Understand what I'm saying? There is no normal way for us if we're talking about going into the future, because you got to understand your present state is not birthed out of a normal way of life. Where we are now is because of the things that are taking place. It is very important, hear me well, that we know the heart of Abba Yahuwah and we know how to proceed once this stuff is so-called over. We can't go back to what we believed and felt was normal, because if we do, we're only setting ourselves up for a major fall.
Right.
That is very important to understand. Somebody said, well, I got a house and I got this, and you don't understand. I've invested so much in this and that. It's a false investment, because one thing about it, you will never own that house. Next time you pay your mortgage, look on it and see what it says. Look on it and see what it says. It's declaring that you are not the owner. And even when you pay for it, as long as you're paying taxes on it, it will never be yours outright and clear. And if you're in a neighborhood, you're governed by codes that leave us as a people. One or two things: either we are getting that migration. Africa, would I say do? I would say be mindful and listen to what the Abba is saying. Moving because you are afraid. And instead of allowing and letting the Abba show you. Now, I'm not saying that everybody is doing it, because everybody can't afford to move. But the question remains is, if I can't afford to move and I know what's happening next, then what am I supposed to do? It's important that we understand ownership of farmland, not just any kind of land, farmland. Somebody say, I'm not a farmer. You don't have to be a farmer to have farmland. No. You don't have to have a green thumb. All you got to do is be willing to remove yourself from the system that already exists, so that the birth out of you what's already in you. Are y'all hearing me? Right. It's very important. Are y'all following me?
Yes.
All right. Now, he says, stand in the ways and look intently. Now, while I'm looking, what am I looking for? He's going to show us what we're looking for. And make inquiry for the ancient paths. The ancient path, what is that? It is not just about us upholding and obtaining the Torah, but it is also our life, the way we govern it, the way we shape it. how we invest in it, what we put in it, and what we take out of it. By no means am I minimizing the feasts. No means, because they are important to our way of life and to our obedience to the Abba. But once we finish the feast, what life do we go back to? Do we go back to a city life, a life that we dread and we hate, to smog, or to a city that basically is governed by unrighteousness, lawlessness? And we stay there because we feel we can't make any other moves, and because that's the only place we have to go. It's important to understand, once again, our way of life and how we are to govern ourselves. Let's look in Ecclesiastes, which is also in the Ibra Kohelet. And we're going to look at 5 and 9. 5 and 9. When you have it, send it so. Chapter 5, verse 9. And it, excuse me, just 2 sentences. Any more moments? Okay. Once again, that's Ecclesiastes 5 and 9. All right, everyone has it? All right. All right. All right. All right, let's read that, please.
Moreover, the profit of the earth is for all. The king himself is served by the field.
All right.
He,
This verse 9. Now, I'm going to read it to you again, and it says, and the of the land is for all. You know who that all is? That's first and foremost for Yasharal. And then other people can benefit from it, but we benefit from it first. Our people benefit from it first. We're supposed to. Then it says, the sovereign himself is served from the field. So that means that we are also served from what we have. You have farmland, you can be served. You can serve yourself, and you can serve others from that place of sustainability. Now, the question comes again, sustainability. Once all this is over with, what are we supposed to do? The first thing you need to do is make sure that you have grounded yourself in the Abba, because it's not over with yet. It's not over with. This is just a time that I believe within my heart of hearts. And once again, I believe that the Abba is giving us an opportunity to exhale, so that as he gives us, invest it wisely. I've heard many people say invest it in stocks, bonds, digital money, and gold and silver. The first 3, I would not advise doing. The being is because you got to understand, we're in lockdown now. Now listen to me well. We are in lockdown, quarantine. You cannot go to your bank because the bank is not open. Not only is it not open, but it is not open for you. So that means anything you're able to do is go to the store and go back to your place of abode. Now just say something happens and you need to get some money quickly. You're stuck. And if they put a freeze on the money, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Stocks we have seen in the past couple of months have gone up and come down. They are not only gold and silver, but I would primarily invest in land. Gold and silver would be a second thought. Why? Because when you have land, you can guard it and you can protect it. That's your place of abode. It's more than just your home, it's your abode. And that is yours. And I'm going to show you later how to truly know it is yours. without having to go have taxes and all the rest of that. And that's at the time. Why? It is important that we understand this because I believe this is the opportunity that the Abba is giving to us to truly remove ourselves from this system. We are responsible for also moving forward in action, positive action, towards the things that are being spoken, that we know that's valid. Chasing after the wind, and neither are we chasing after stuff that is just being promoted as truth. But when you know that you've been given, it's very important that we understand that. Why? Because if you do not prepare, then you stand as a foolish man or as a foolish woman. Are y'all following me? It's important that we understand that. Why is it important that we understand that? Because you are not just preparing for yourself. It's important that we understand that. Why? Why? Because somebody's depending on you. Are you hearing me? No. Very important. All right. As I'm saying that to you, I'm saying that because I want to it's important that we be prepared. Are y'all hearing me?
Yeah.
Very important that we be prepared. Let's look again at Ecclesiastes 5 and 9. And the increase of the land is for all of who? All of Yahshua. The sovereign himself is served from the field. The field of what? Whatever your field is, whatever is growing in your field. Now, let's look at this. Let's go to Genesis 9 and 9 through 10. Just something to encourage you. And then I'm going to go to Jeremiah chapter 29, just to read a few things out of that. And then I want to read, if time permits, something else. And then we're going to be ready to pray. 9 and 9, chapter 9. I'm going to look at verses 9 and 10. And it is so. All right, read that for me.
Trader Sheath, this is Genesis chapter 9, verse 9. And I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you.
In verse 10.
Oh, in verse 10. And with every living creature, that every beast of the earth. And it is so.
And it is so. Now, that's covenant being made. If you notice, that covenant had nothing to do with houses, cars, but it had everything to do with the animals and the land. Once again, in the beginning, as I said, I believe that a lot of the things, the advancement that we look at as being advancement, is not advancement that the Abba approves of. No, show me where he ever baruched those things. He always spoke of in an agricultural way. All advancement is not great advancement, especially when it is to the demise of the living, everything that's living on it, from the living beast. Let me show you something. When they started talking about a decree, they failed to be able to do their job. Are you following me?
Yeah.
Why? Because if there is no farmland, if there is no land, then guess what happens? We lose so much. That's not the will of the Abba. You can't make me believe that the will of the Abba is to destroy the land that he gave to us to live on and to have it provide for us. No matter what, when you go into the grocery store, yeah, you got the stuff that has been, genetically modified and all this, but they still have some type of farmland to where they still have to farm and are able to vegetation in order for us to be able to buy the stuff we buy. The point that I am making is sustainability means that you are best interest at heart. It does not. And no matter how you may try to flip it, no matter how you try to twist it, try to pull it, it does not. And according to Ecclesiastes, Kohelet 5 and 9, it shows us that we are able to benefit from this. It didn't say benefiting from 500 Fortune company. So you got to understand, many things that we learned, it brought us or it pushed us or forced us out of living and walking in truth. I know it's not popular because people are not ready to give up their condos. People are not ready to give up their Mercedes. People are not ready to give up that flashy way of life to go into a way of life that's simple. It's just simple. You garden, and when I mean simple, I'm not talking about simple in the sense of being derogative or not. It is a life that you have to work hard at, and you don't get up. You can't go and dig in the dirt with no $25 and $30 nails on them. You can't. And trust me, I mean, I'm concerned about my nails just like the next person. I like my nails to grow, and I like painting my nails when I have time. But I'm talking about something that's more important than me painting my nails, more important than me playing my PS4. And that is the sustainability of not just my household, but the sustainability of somebody else's household by the decision I make to invest in a long life investment. This is not short. What am I to execute? How am I to govern my life after this? Because once again, this is just the first wave. There are more waves to come. Does it mean it may be this extreme? It doesn't have to be that extreme. But when you know another wave is coming, whether it's a small or large wave, the point of the matter is you wave that's coming. And you and I myself and the rest, we need to be prepared. It's important. Are you following me? Now I'm going to read to you sustainability. I want to give you the definition of sustainability, and we're going to look at this, and then I want to take. But it's important that we understand, because in the second part of my theme for young is the consequences of disobedience. When we fail to respond to the Abba's instructions and to what he has given unto us, the consequences can be grave. Because when he said to do it, we failed to respond to him. And therefore, we ended up digressing and falling into the hands of our enemy. Now, understand sustainability. The meaning for Yahshua. For Yahshua, sustainability meant preserving the covenant relationship with our Creator into the future where we are now. We may be in our present, but this is still our future from when this was written. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's important that we understand. Now, the biblical concept of sustainability, moral. In Lamentations chapter 5, verses 4 through 14, as is being recognized with increasing frequency in modern debates, sustainability is ultimately a moral issue. It is not just a moral issue, but morals are a part of it. Because when I begin to think of sustainability and talk about sustainability and share ways for you to be sustainability, it is a moral and ethic way of life, because I can hold this to myself and move forward, but they will hold it to either market it or say, you ain't ready for it. That is not what this is about. Sustainability is the saying is, you feed a man, when you feed a man a fish, you feed him for the day. You teach a man how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. And we want to be able to do not just for ourselves, but try to help our other brothers and sisters. That is important. Now, that's where I believe the moral issue comes in, because we're not out here trying to hoard it and say, well, I'm going to make you pay, $100 like life coaches do. Think about that. Are y'all hearing me? Does everything have to have a price tag on it? I need to know how to budget, and I need to know how to do this because my life is just falling apart. But yet you're going to charge me to tell me just basic life, because we didn't want to take care of them. Our people failed to take care of them, and they failed to see about their needs. And therefore, the Abba got angry with us because we were well qualified and had enough to take care of them. And so you got to understand, being able to tell someone how to sustain themselves without putting a price tag at the end is showing that you are an ethical person that has morals. And you're not trying to charge everybody for everything. Right. We saw the mange when everything was going on and people were selling tissue pieces because people had went in really and bought up all the tissue. I'm not talking about, over a period of time. We're talking about people with 2 and 3 buggies full of tissue and paper towel. And the stores got wise and said, you know what? You're going to want to return that back. So no, there is a no return policy on them buying all that. Why? Because they understood. You're just buying all this. Why? Because you're trying to price gouge on it. A pack of paper towels, you go in the store, maybe pay $5 or $6 for it. Now you got to pay $20 for it if you really want it. That's being unethical. That's not having morals, because 2 through 5, we understand handle with care what the Bible says about sustainability. And I would encourage you to go back and listen to the teaching that I did on last week about that, where it talked about that a process or state can be maintained at a certain level for as long as it is wanted. This is why it is important that we understand sustainability. I'm going to show you some other examples. Now, when you went to the store, wherever you are, if you were not already prepared or you had to go pick up some things, if you notice, the stores could not really sustain everybody because they were not sustained properly. Anytime they tell you that trucks can't come in, or if the trucks come in, they don't come in with a full load. So that means they are unable to sustain you because their sustainability has been cut. Or their means to sustain you or us as the customer has been shortened, or it has been decreased. So they can't do it. But when you have your own land, or you're in a community that has their own land, you're sustained. Why? Because everything that you do is within that community, and you build as a community, as a congregation. This is important for us to understand. Are y'all hearing me? Because as a fool and his money are soon parted. You will get that money in your hand and you will spend it on everything but what is important, most important. And that is your sustainability. Being able to sustain yourself in a time of crisis. And it is so.
It is.
The principles of sustainability are the foundations of what this concept represents. Therefore, sustainability is made up of 3 pillars: economic, social, and environment. It is important, once again, that we understand that the Abba has given us everything we need to his method of sustaining homes, offices, and other buildings, or to pump water is one of the best examples of sustainable development. After all, wind is a free resource. It is a free resource. Sustainability is important. I know, once again, this may sound to many people foreign, especially because of where we are now, but this is the time to be thinking about this way of life is right now. Because your present is going to be your past eventually. And you're going to embark upon your future eventually. Hours from now for many. And some people are already have gone into their future and they're looking at their past as we speak. But it's important that you make up in your heart of hearts that my past is where I was, but my present, it was once my future, and I must now prepare and stabilize my present so that my future will be stable and not rocky. It is important, especially where we are now, to do and not to do. Because while people are trying to get a quick, trying to get that quick money, don't get locked into this system, because this system never did us any good. Are you hearing me? And many think, oh, but we're about to get X amount of Z, this and that and the other. You better take it like you would anything else, utilize it, and keep it moving. Are y'all following me? Now, once again, it is important that we understand sustainability and not to be disobedient when he's given us the means to sustain our lives. But it is the way he wants us to do it, not the way we want to do it. I know, it's one of those things, when people get a taste of certain things and they've never had it before, and now their palate wants it and wants it. the lifestyle that we were living before we came into truth, and the lifestyle that we were living in Christianity, that was a lifestyle that you grew to more. You wanted that, you wanted to have the fancy cars. It was one of those things. If you're going to be in Christianity and be a Christian, then you had to dress the part. You had to have the fancy shoes, the fancy clothes. You had all that. You had to have the image that you were prospering. Because if you didn't have that image, then you were not worthy to be even dealt with or even, fellowship with. And so now we come to the reality of life. Are you chasing after an image, or are you truly wanting to live according to the Abba's way that he's given unto us? Ways, not ways. Meaning that there are other ways. And I'm not talking about diving in and divulging into secret. You can't miss it. It's like giving instruction. If you go straight a mile and then at that mile marker make a left, you're not gonna miss it. But if you say, well, that don't look right because it look a little wooded, I'm gonna go up, then you just missed the instructions. Now, therefore, you're gonna miss what was at that left turn because you failed to comply to the instructions that was given. He said, seek that ancient way. Why is it ancient? It's the original way that we live. And because, truthfully, we don't have a lot of information out there that outlines how we once lived. But there is information out there. And there's a book that I'm reading, and every opportunity that I have been given were sustaining themselves temporarily. Because when it's all said and done, they messed up. And because they messed up, they lost their sustainability. We messed up in them and lost our sustainability. But you're not going to get it back through living in this system that does not even use wisdom and understand. It is not to try to sustain you completely with it, but it's to give to you. It's a seed to you to go and plant so that when these crises again, you will be in a better position than you are now. Are y'all following me? Yeah. You'll be in a better position than many of you. We will still be in a better position because our mindset is to get in a place and to build a place of sustainability. We understand we can't do that outside of the opera, and we would dare never do it outside of it. But the consequences of being disobedient, let's look at Jeremiah chapter 29. Jeremiah is his Hebrew name. Jeremiah is his English name. Chapter 29. Now, I just want to show you an example of the consequences of disobedience. I am not prophesying that this is where we are right now, but I am showing you the consequences of being disobedient and where it'll land you because of disobedience. Are y'all following me? All right. Let's start at, all right, we're going to start at verse 1.
This is the text of the letter which prophet Jeremiah sent from Jerusalem to the priests, the prophets, the rest of the elders of the exiled community, and to all the people whom Nebuchadnezzar had exiled from Jerusalem to Babylon, the queen mother, the eunuchs, the officials of Yehuda and Jerusalem, and the craftsmen and the smiths had left Jerusalem. The letter was sent through Elisha, son of Shaphan, and Gemariah, son of Hilkiah, whom King Zedekiah of Yehuda had dispatched to Babylon, the king Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. Thus said the master Yahuwah, the mighty one of Yahshua, who to the whole community which I exiled from Jerusalem to Babylon, build houses and live in them, and live in them, plant gardens and eat their fruit, take wives and beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons and give your daughters to husbands, that they may bear sons and daughters. Multiply there, do not decrease, and seek the welfare of the city to which I have exiled you, and pray to Yahuwah in its behalf, for in its prosperity you prosper.
And it is so. All right. Chapter 29 of Jeremiah, verses 1 to verse 7. Jerusalem, and the craftsmen and smiths had left Jerusalem. The letter was sent through Hilkiah, whom King Zedekiah of Yehuda had dispatched to Babylon to King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. Thus said Yahuwah of hosts, the power of Yahshua, to the whole community which I exiled from Jerusalem to Babylon. Build houses and live in them. Plant gardens and eat their fruit. Now remember what he told them. Now mind you, I'm using this as an example of what he had given them to do in that time. He said, build houses. In other words, get comfortable and live. But this is what he told them to do. Now watch this. He didn't tell them to go. He said, give your sons and daughters. In other words, give your son to the tribe that you belong to, daughter, and your daughter goes to the son of the tribe that you belong to. He said, in other words, don't diminish, increase. I've given you a platform and a way to live. Build your houses, tend to your gardens. Anything outside of that. Are y'all following me? So the method that he gave us, even though we were in a place, a strange land, was still to single us out and would keep us separated. Mingle. We were never to mingle. But our people just have that bad, that bad way about them that we always got to mingle. We got to do what everybody else is doing, but what we were told. Now listen to what he says, plant gardens and eat their fruit. He didn't say take wives from them. He said take wives and beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons and give your daughters to husbands, that they may bear sons and daughters. Multiply there. Do not decrease. He said don't decrease. Then he says, seek the welfare. Now listen what he says, and seek the welfare of the city to which I have exiled you, and pray to Abba Yahuwah in its behalf, for in it is prosperity, you shall prosper. Now once again, just format onto how we are to conduct ourselves, your gardens. And when you look at our people now, when you get to talking about gardening, the majority of our people do not know how to garden way of life, because we saw something better, and that was city life. And the city life is not better than the country life. It is not. But and the generation of my children, when you get to talking about gardening, I'm not saying all, because I would not dare, because I don't know everybody or all people. They're not concerned about gardening. They're not concerned about sustainability. Ain't nothing gonna happen to us. We're gonna take care of ourselves. And that's the misconception, is that I can take care of myself without doing what he says too. In verse 8. For the heed to the dreamers, to the dream, they dream. For they prophesy to you in my name falseness. That sit up there and tell the people of Abba Yahuwah, number one, the law has been done away with. Number two, get ready, a blessing is coming. You already know that they're talking about a stimulus. It doesn't take a prophet. If a prophet is not coming to you and telling you, if you're not walking in truth, that you need to walk in truth and you need to forsake the ways of the man-made religion, you better get away from it. Because the true prophets are far from them, because they have not been sent from the hour. It is important that we understand that, because if you don't understand that, you're going to find yourself in a world of trouble, because you're listening to false. It is important that we hear and listen. The Abba is not talking every day and all day to people. Are y'all hearing me? He's not. But you got people. He said this to me this morning. He said this to me last night. Wow, he sure is doing a lot of talking. Are y'all hearing me? It's important that we listen. Verse 10, please. 10, 11, 12, and 13. Read that for me.
Jeremiah chapter 29, verses 10 to 13.
Mm-hmm.
For thus says Yahuwah, for I know the thoughts that I think toward you, says Yahuwah, thoughts of shalom and not of evil, to
in the time of their displacement. We know we are displaced and we are not all together like we're supposed to be. So there we've been given instructions and we need to follow those instructions to the letter. Now listen what it says. For thus say Yahuwah, when 70 years are completed, I'm not putting a time, but when the time is complete, I establish my great word toward you to bring you back to this place. For I know the plans I am planning for you. Now get that in your heart, not in your head, in your heart. Declares Yahuwah, plans of shalom and not of evil, to give you a future and an expectancy in time of tribulation and trial. That we understand that. All right, continue to read.
Verse 12. Then shall you call upon me, and you shall go and pray unto me, and I will hearken unto you. Verse 13. And you shall see, and it is so.
Now, and it is so. Listen at this. Then you shall call on me, and shall come and pray to me, and I shall sincerity. I'll be Yahuwah. Help me to endure and outlast this. That's what's going on. I'm not gaining power. Help me to endure and outlast these trials that we are in. Help me to stand and not just having stood or having a stand in it, but help me to stand, therefore, with my loins girt about with your truth, my place of strength with your truth. So that as I'm standing in truth, not just standing. That is important for us to understand, especially in this hour. Listen to what he says. And you shall seek me and shall find me when you search for me with all your heart. Verse 14, and I shall be found by you, declares Yahuwah, and I shall turn back your captivity and shall gather you from places where I have driven you, declares Yahuwah, and I shall bring you back to the place from which I have exiled you. It is important that we follow the method that he has given unto us. I have come to understand that when you're in a place and everything around you is falling, it is hard to focus. You're set apart. It makes it just a little bit easier for you to truly focus on calling him. Because you got to understand something. We're not calling him because we are afraid. We're calling him because we call on me. I will answer. But you got to look at where you are really ready to seek me with your whole heart. Then I shall be found of you. Until that is done, you just call him. But when you do this, I will be found of you. I shall turn back your captivity and shall gather you from all the Gentiles. And this is what he says. And from all the places where I have driven you, declares Yahuwah, I shall bring you back to the place from which I have exiled you. It is so important that we understand that this is a way of life. And our way of life is supposed to please him from A to Z. I can't walk in truth and still be out there doing all kind of other crazy stuff. Everything about me has to line up. Now, understand what I'm about to say. When you look at the West Indians and those of India, and when you look at those that are in, whether they're in Korea, whether they're in Germany, they don't just live just to live. They live according to their culture. They live according to their culture. Their culture, it's our way of life to esteem him and to praise him, that we have this understanding. Without him, we don't have any understanding. And hear me well. While people are expecting it to go back to normal, remember, it was never normal to begin with. So if you're thinking you're going to go back and everything is going to be in place, it's just like a person when they break their foot or break their arm. It's going to be moved a little bit. It is the same way with this, because it's not. But in this time, take the opportunity, first and foremost, to pull away from a system. Get you some farmland, close to a community, an organization, or let me buy close to you so that I will be close enough to you to learn how I'm supposed to do this. And you can be a support to me and I can be a support to you. If you've courted a place and you've been courting them for some time and you're ready to make that consummation and you're ready to make that move, then ask them, hey, look, what do I have to do to be brought into this community? And never go with unrealistic expectations. Going expecting to give, to receive, and to give. But never go in expecting that you have no responsibility or obligation to the community or to the nearby community that you are living near or by. It is important that we understand that. Let not the consequences of our ancestors continue to roll through our lives. Sustainability. Purchase that land. And don't be a continual sufferer of the consequences of our actions for being disobedience. Direction that he has called us to move. Once again, just to encourage you, just to keep your ruach lifted. Is it going to get better? As long as we stay in our Yahuwah, it's always great. Quarantine, lockdown, it's still great. Just a word of encouragement to those that have been what you would consider on lockdown with your family. You know, you're saying, hey, this is new because, you know, we had a wait. I went to work, he went to work, the kids went to school, we came home. We only had, about 4 hours that we dealt with one another, and then we went on with our normal lives. That's not normal. Because you will get a taste of what some of those teachers were trying to tell you about your children. And some of you will hear your children, what they were telling you about the school system. Once again, this is a place of decision making, defining moments for many of us. Whether or not you would put them back into a public school or treat any moment, let us not rely on human emotions in his word. And know that he'll never leave us, neither will he forsake us. Because we are about living for him. Sit at the coffee table, sit at the floor, wherever a place of meeting is for your family, and bond. Heal the old wounds. Talk with one another, not at each other, talk with one another. Bond. Build a strong, healthy relationship with your family. Build it. And as you build it, guess what? You will get the satisfaction of what you put in it, because what you put in it is what you're going to get out of it. If you don't put anything in it, you're definitely not going to get anything out of it. Take that time to bond with your family. Take that time to mend. Take that time to listen, and take that time to hear and to speak. It's important that we do these things. Once again, just here to encourage you to keep your head up, keep your shoulders squared, and keep your heart and your feet in the Torah, the instructions of the Abba, because we can't go wrong when we adhere to his instructions. Once again, remember, the push is on. Work smarter, not harder. I am Aliyah Yasharal, and I am the Mora of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom, a Great Belief congregation located in South Carolina. I want you to remember here at Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom, a Great Belief congregation. This is the place where
The Torah does the body excellent.
Until next time, may Abba Yahuwah Baruch and keep you in his shalom until we meet again. His reside, and it is so. And it is so. And it is so.
This side, we had 13 meetings total.